Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rich Bradley, President of the Board of Public Service. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Public Service for Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. This is a public meeting, and we do have a letting and a hearing today. So first we will handle the letting. And Helen, I will just ask you that when you get the bids downloaded, if you would just go ahead and read them, please. And Helen, you are muted, just so you know that.
Just in time, they're ready. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have letting 8775 traffic management enhancements, phase 4. We have 3 bids. First bid is Gerstner Electric Incorporated. That's GERSTNER Electric Incorporated. Total bid amount is $3,211,653. 3211653.00. Next, we have Reinhold Electric Incorporated, REINHOLD Electric Incorporated. Total bid amount is $3,252,343.21. 3252343.21. And last, we have Meyer Electric Company, Inc., MEYER Electric Company, Inc. Total bid amount is $4,668,190.79. That's $4,668,190.79. Those are the 3 bids for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Helen.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this time, we are going to handle the hearing. So hearing number 126107. This continuation of hearing number 126107-RH is being conducted pursuant to section 26.100.030 of the revised code of the city of St. Louis. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether to revoke the conditional use permit numbered as 126107-RH issued for DBA The Tavern at Clifton Heights, CO Stephen Cook, to occupy 2817 Watson Road as a full drink bar with outside seating and patio. The parties have been notified of the violations of the conditions of this conditional use permit in writing by certified mail, along with the posted notice of today's hearing date. The hearing began on April 16th, 2024 to address the issues surrounding conditions number 1, number 4, number 5, and number 8 of the conditional use permit. On that date, the board voted to table the hearing for 90 days to allow the permit holder time to resolve the violations. Today, the board is considering the revocation of this conditional use permit for violation of conditions 1 and condition 8. Condition number 1, the applicant shall provide a concealed commercial dumpster for which he will establish a trash removal contract through a private source, schedule regular pickups, and maintain the entire premise in a clean and orderly appearance at all times. Condition number 8, the premise shall not become a nuisance property pursuant to ordinance 68535. The Office of the Zoning Administrator has the burden to prove the conditional use permit conditions have not been complied with. After all evidence of the zoning administrator has been presented, the board will ask for additional testimony, if any, in support of the revocation. Then the conditional use holder will be given the opportunity to present evidence. Lastly, the board will hear other testimony in opposition to the revocation, if any. The testimony today is being recorded. When you come forward, please state your name and address and be sworn in by the secretary. As you testify, please direct your comments to the board and not to those in the audience. The members of the audience are asked to remain silent and not coach the witnesses. During your testimony, members of this board may have questions for you. Following the hearing, the board will proceed with its regular agenda. Following the conclusion of the regular agenda, the board will deliberate, discuss, and vote on the hearing. The board will notify the conditional use holder of its decision by mail in about 2 weeks. The Board of Public Service has in its possession the following documents, which are being hereby introduced into evidence. Item 1, a certified copy of the zoning code of the City of St. Louis. Item 2, a memorandum dated March 19, 2024, from the zoning plan examiner to the zoning administrator stating that on March 19, 2024, the zoning inspector found violations of conditions number 1, 4, 5, and 8 of the conditional use permit. This memo includes photographs of these violations. Number 3, the conditional use permit numbered as 126107 issued for DBA, the Tavern at Clifton Heights, CO Stephen Clark, to occupy 2817 Watson Road as a full drink bar with outside seating and patio. Item 4, a public nuisance notice dated October 18th, 2023, sent to Stephen Jacobsmeyer, TRS, at 6604 Itasca Street, St. Louis, Missouri 63109, from the Department of Public Safety, Neighborhood Stabilization Division, providing notices that the city believed the properties at 2815 through 2819 Watson Street were a public nuisance. Item 5, a letter dated March 26, 2024, sent to DBA, the Tavern at Clifton Heights, CO Stephen Cook, at 2815 through 17 Watson Road, from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 1, 4, 5, and 8 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing notice for today's hearing. Item 6, a letter dated March 26, 2024, sent to SMC Ventures LLC Stephen Cook at 87 Grosso Plaza, Shopping Center, Box 249, St. Louis, Missouri 63123, from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 1, 4, 5, and 8 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing notice for today's hearing. Item 7, a letter dated March 26, 2024, sent to Jacobsmeyer Realty, CO Stephen Jacobsmeyer, TRS, 6604 Itasca Street, St. Louis, Missouri 63109, from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 1, 4, 5, and 8 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing notice for today's hearing. Item 8, a letter dated March 26, 2024, sent to Jacobsmeyer Realty, CO Stephen Jacobsmeyer, TRS, 6604 Itasca Street, St. Louis, Missouri 63109, from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 1, 4, 5, and 8 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing notice for today's hearing. Item 9, a memorandum to the zoning administrator from Sandra Long dated April 15th, 2024, stating conditions 1 and 8 were in violations based on an investigation on such date, including photographs taken of the premise on that date. Item 10, letters dated April 17th, 2024, sent to DBA The Tavern at Clifton Heights, CO Stephen Cook, 2815 through 17 Watson Road, SMC Ventures LLC, CO Stephen Cook, 87 Grasso Plaza, and Jacobsmeyer Realty, CO Stephen Jacobsmeyer, TRS, at 6604 Itasca Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63109, from the board secretary stating that the board found the permit holder in violation of conditions 1 and 8 of the permit and tabled the revocation hearing for 90 days until July 16th, 2024, to allow the permit holder time to get into compliance. Item 11, public notices of today's hearing posted in the City Journal on July 2nd, 2024, July 9th, 2024, and July 16th, 2024. Item 12, photographs of the notice of the April 16th, 2024 hearing posted outside 2815 through 17 Watson Road. Item 13, photographs of the notice of today's hearing posted outside 2815 through 2817 Watson Road. Item 14, a copy of the public notice posted for today's hearing. The board has also received a flash drive of videos from Luke Backer, who has also testified in favor of the revocation. The board will retain such video in a record file, but if the board issues a decision today, the board will only consider any video if it is actually shown to the board and attested to at this hearing. At this time, the board asks the representative of the Office of Zoning Administrator to please come forward and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give at this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name for the board.
Sandra Long, 1200 Market Street. Zoning Plan Examiner.
Can you please?
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. Andrea Gutierrez and I conducted a follow-up investigation yesterday, July 15, 2024, for compliance to the conditional use permit. We still found the conditions being violated were number 1, excuse me, the enclosed dumpster. Well, it's not enclosed. It's still not enclosed. You can see that on the pictures. And number 8, I did check with Mia Wood to see if there was any additional meetings or anything over the nuisance property, and there hasn't been anything updated for that. So that still carries out for a year. And as a note, I did talk to the bartender. I noticed there was not a trash can outside for patrons to use. I didn't reference that before, so I just asked them to put a trash can outside and put a more permanent one there to stay outside all the time. And I explained to the bartender they can apply to amend the dumpster condition if they cannot actually abide with it, and to give zoning a call.
Okay, thank you for that summary. So just to make sure I am correct, you are reporting today that the site inspection still showed a violation of condition 1 for a dumpster and condition number 8 for a nuisance property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to open the floor up for questions from any of the Board of Public Service directors or Ms. Long. Okay, seeing no questions for Ms. Long, thank you very much. At this time, if there's anyone else present who wishes to testify, the noted conditions have not been complied with, please come forward and be sworn in. I'm looking around, I see we have Luke Backer, you raised your hand, but I don't see your photo. So STL TV, can you allow him to speak? Okay, Luke, you are now on the screen and you are muted. So can you turn your camera on and unmute yourself, please? Thank you.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Great. So we need to get you sworn in first. So the
Yep.
secretary's here behind me, so go ahead.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give at this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the board.
Luke Backer, 6014 Marmaduke Avenue.
Okay, so let me just give you a little setup here before we proceed. So I know that you had asked to share some videos. That is fine. I think in the interest of the board and time, I'm going to ask, first of all, if you would please summarize what it is that you would like to show. And then if you would show us whatever pertinent videos you believe we need to see, that would be fine.
Yeah, of course. I had sent, I don't know if it made it onto you guys, I had sent basically a breakdown of different dates and the videos that I had compiled into longer clips. So I don't know if you guys got that or not,
I
but
have it. I do have it, and it was sent out to all the board members.
so I broke them into three kind of compilations of clips of basically kind of notable clips before our last hearing, notable clips since the last hearing, and then just destruction that's happened to my personal property this year so far, 2024.
So why don't you do this? Why don't you summarize, you could start with the clips before our meeting where we granted the extension. Just talk a little bit about, you know, what is included there and maybe show a representative clip or two for the board's edification.
Let's see here. One of the first ones that we had right after I had put cameras in because we were having issues, there's a patron that sits in his vehicle, I guess asleep until maybe 5 in the morning. And I don't know if his foot slipped off the gas or what, but he crashed into our fence and bent it over severely, ending up partially in our backyard. There's another one where people are using a megaphone with a siren on the patio at 12:41 in the morning. There's a patron inducing vomiting on a dumpster that's on our fence line. Someone striking a dumpster. Probably a reason it would be great to have an enclosure around that dumpster is there a patron strikes it on their way in, pops their front passenger tire, goes inside, retrieves the bartender, brings the bartender outside, at which point they try to push the dumpster back to its original location with his disabled vehicle. An off-clock bartender screams profanity at someone at the top of her lungs for several minutes using the C word 14 plus times at 9:30 at night. There's a patron that stumbles out of the bar looking for his vehicle. He's so intoxicated, presumably, he falls literally straight backwards. His head bounces off the sidewalk, and two other patrons drive him home in his vehicle. Numerous patrons leave the bar with open containers, screaming, yelling, and proceeding to redline their engines and lay on the horn before peeling out of the parking lot. I believe that's all I included in my compilation before 4/16/24.
So those are all videos that happened before 4/16. Is there anything there you would like to show us that in your mind you feel like we need to see as a video?
I mean, I had hours of clips and I clipped it down into this short amount because I felt that this was kind of a variety. I'd like to be respectful of everyone's time, but you know, these were ones that I thought were notable. Not necessarily the worst, not the you know, best, but just kind of a variety of what we deal with on a daily basis back here.
Why don't you just pick one of these that you think is important and show it to us?
Okay. Forgive me, they're all combined into one longer video, so I'll have to seek through and find it. But So what I have here is basically the end of them pushing the dumpster back and the beginning of a separate incident where the bartender is screaming, if that's all right.
Yes.
How heavy is this motherfucker? I can move my truck though. No, I can back into it. I can back into it, move it. You want it straight this way? What's the opposite? You want it straight this way, right? Yeah. It's better, yes. Better? Yeah, let's yeah. You want it better than that? No, let's yeah. Fuck, idiot. Now I'm a cunt? I'm a cunt? Yes. You just called me a cunt. You fucked up. No, you fucked up. I'm a cunt? Why am I a cunt? Why the fuck am I a cunt? Because you got to fight with some little piece of shit. And I'm trying to help you. I'm a cunt? And you'll never tip me again? Right, I'm a cunt? She was on your side. What the fuck does that have to do with me? I'm not even working right now. Listen, motherfucker! She was sticking up. I'm your friend. I'm your motherfucking friend. And I'm a cunt? You know what? Boo, it's hard to be your friend. It's hard to be your friend. She was sitting. But I'm a cunt. Oh, I know. I'm a cunt. Yeah, guess what? I'm not a cunt. He said he likes you. I'm not a cunt. I love you. A cunt is. Oh, right, but I'm a cunt. I would take it back. No, man, take it back, bro. Good. Don't ever take it back. Fuck
I'll
you.
go ahead and end that there because I mean it kind of continues on down the same road for a while. But the way I understand is that's one of the bartenders that was not working at that time. But I think that kind of speaks to the type of individual that is basically in charge of what goes on back there on a daily basis, whether on duty or not.
So why don't we go to summarize the notable clips after 416, because this board allowed the conditional use holder 90 days to get things in order. So if you want to walk through and explain what you've got here and then pick a clip or two you want to show us, that would probably be a good way to approach that.
Yeah, of course. So at first, I mean, we since early 2021, I've been sending clips of these to what is it, NIS or neighborhood improvement specialists or whatever. So at first I was a little confused to where these videos didn't make it to you guys before the last hearing, but I think it ended up kind of being a good thing because the things that have happened in the past 3 months after they're supposed to be, under this amount of scrutiny and cleaning their act up, I think things literally almost got worse. So I think it kind of helps drive our point home, what we're dealing with a little bit more. So if you'd like, I can.
If you would summarize the different clips like you did before and then pick something out to show us.
So kind of starts with patrons screaming as they exit and re-enter bar. I think they probably it looked like they had gone to 7-Eleven to grab some cigarettes, and then they're basically just yelling for no reason all the way there and back. Later that same night, or no, excuse me, 2 nights later.
Would you highlight the times that you have there too? Because I think that's important to mention the times.
Yeah, so and all the also all the video clips, well, vast majority of the video clips I play are hard coded with date and time in the upper left hand corner as well. But yes, on the sheet, this was 4/24/2024 at 11:11. That's patrons screaming as they exit and re-enter the bar. 4/26/2024, 10:51, numerous large trucks revving engines and peeling out. 5/4/2024, 10:44 p.m. Two people exit bar with beverages, both snort something for the second time that night and return to the bar. 5/5/2024 at 1:38 a.m. Group of patrons exits the bar with open containers carrying a completely incapacitated woman. The group continues to yell and scream using inappropriate language. They kick a few things in the parking lot. 5/7/2024, incapacitated person stumbles out of car, attempts to drive home. She becomes extremely argumentative when other patrons try to drive her home. 5/8/2024, bar regular comes outside, so intoxicated he can hardly walk, proceeds to urinate on dumpster and drive home. 6/3/2024, lady leaves bar and proceeds to scream at our dogs to shut up, then screams at my significant other, calling her a bitch. 6/18/2024, bar regular stumbles to vehicle and clips trash can in our side alley while we're out there pulling out weeds. 6/21/2024, patron exits bar and yells at two others that are making out in parking lot. Patron significant other shows up and tries to take his keys. What happens next, I literally can only describe as like a domestic disturbance. I mean, they were like more or less in a fist fight in the passenger seat of her vehicle. Car alarms were going off. Her car horn was honking. It was a whole thing. 6/22/2024, bar patrons leave bar and proceed to scream at our dogs, causing them to bark. Then one yells at my girlfriend saying, "Put your dogs away, then we won't make any noise." And those are just the ones that I've found to be most notable or cover, I guess, this broad of a spectrum of issues that we're dealing with just from the past 3 months.
So again, would you like to just pick one of these videos and then show it to us so we have some video evidence of what you're testifying to?
For sure. And if given the option after this, I would like to show you guys all the damage that's happened to my property just this year. It's a shorter video, but I think it kind of speaks volumes to what we've been dealing with here for the past few years.
That's fine.
Okay.
Oh, there's our car.
I mean, I might want to get in a fight. I might want to get in a fight. Maybe I'll go to Barney's. I don't know. Maybe Barney's fight night?
Alright, bye. Oh my god. Wait, I'll catch you. I'll get you to the car. Why is she blowing away? Alright, love you. He's a bitch. He should have fucking killed you. He should have fucking killed you. Fuck that dude, you know what I'm saying? It was a bitch. And I'm gonna call him out for it. Hey, yo, bro. Some other dude carried your chick to the car. I've seen that. You expect to be your dick sucker your whole life? Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking jacked, and I carry bitches. That's what I do.
I had a fucking drink. Go. Stay up here. Go. You go. Get out of my way. Hey. No. God damn it. Give me my fucking keys. No. I'm sorry. Give me my goddamn car keys. No. It's 100 fucking degrees. Give me my goddamn car keys. What the fuck is your problem? God damn it. Give me the fucking car keys. What the fuck are you being a fucking... Can I turn my fucking alarm off? Sell the car.
Again, it's hard to narrow these down just to, I mean, I think originally when we dumped just the raw clips from just the past 3 months, I think it was over 2 hours. So,
Right.
you know, when you say choose a cup, like I gotta literally just randomly choose two. But I think that the damage that's occurred specifically to my property this year from people who have left the tavern, it kind of speaks to what we've been dealing with for, you know, the past several years. So if you guys have time and would allow me to show that, I would appreciate it.
Go ahead, please.
This is my detached garage that this camera is mounted on that he hits.
And
This
this
one's a-
video here is dated 4/29, so this is after the 16th.
Yes. And this one's a little bit, I cut this one a little longer, so I kind of skipped through it so you guys don't have to watch all these in my camera views. We haven't had one person this year leave a note or anything like that, knock on the door when they've hit and run our vehicle or our fence or our garage or anything like that. They've all just driven off, and we've had to track them down. The same police report numbers for each one of these. I believe they're on the sheet I sent you guys, but we were basically told by the police that we were going to have to get a lawyer and sue if we wanted anything to happen. So that's me. I was actually showing my younger brother the camera. This guy that drives by us, it's our vehicle as well. So those are kind of the most notable things in my mind that's caused us the most amount of heartache just this year, just from having to either track people down or call the police, fill out a police report, go through all the steps to we're trying to do what we're supposed to do, but it doesn't seem like any of the patrons there that have caused damage to our property. I mean, the crazy thing is they're all like, we've tracked them all down because like we walk the dogs and we see where they live. We see their damaged cars. They all live within walking distance of this bar and choose to drive anyway. And they're all very apologetic after the fact because I guess I give them my little spiel of it doesn't make any sense to pay $20,000 on lawyers for a $5,000 car and we work something out. But in the same boat, like I shouldn't have to be spending my money on these nice security cameras. I shouldn't have to be spending my time to track these people down. That's the job of the bar owner. He's the one with the conditional use permit. His bar is in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and his people drink here from 6 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. at night and play bumper cars in the parking lot every night. I mean, I have literally hours of videos showing this.
So I do appreciate your testimony. I think I want to ask you a couple questions, and then I'm gonna open the floor up for questions from our board directors. So, on the 16th, we allowed this conditional use holder another 90 days to get things in order. And so, for the record, I just want to ask, do you believe as a neighbor that anything has happened, anything positive at all has happened in those 90 days?
I mean, honestly, no. I mean, I feel like they made attempts to basically come into terms with different things, but I mean, the way they went about it was just generally wrong. Like I guess for some fire code thing, they had to make more space between fence pickets on their existing fence around their patio. Well, they've got like bartenders or people who work there, somebody out there at 9:30 at night while we're trying to go to bed because we have to be up at 4 a.m. the next morning with sawzalls and drills at 9:30 p.m. modifying an existing fence. Like, I get that might have to do that to come into regulation with something, but that doesn't mean I should have to listen to it at 9:30 at night when I'm trying to go to bed. I would say overall the general attitude toward I don't know what the rhetoric is that goes on over there, but in the past 3 months, the attitude of the patrons towards us has been significantly more hostile than it has in the past.
Okay, I'm gonna open the floor up for our board directors because I'm pretty certain someone will have some questions. So directors, if you have any questions for Mr. Backer.
I do have a question, Mr. President. Mr. Backer, thank you for your presentation today, and I'm sorry that you've experienced so much heartache at the site. I just have, this is a security question. One, I'm surprised at how much coverage you have for the security cameras. How many cameras do you have on your property?
Right now, I think is it up to 7? I believe it's like 7.
Okay, and then follow-up question, did you install those cameras primarily based on the activities of this bar? or had they been there prior to when some of these issues took place?
That they're the largest. I'm an IBW electrician, so it's not as hard as me for some to put my own cameras in, and that's kind of a techie also. But I mean the reason that I started installing cameras to this extent, which I really don't feel like I should have to do just to protect, my own property, was because so much damage was happening from patrons at the tavern. And when I installed those, there were lots of, the truck got hit, the car got hit, the retaining wall, all the blocks got knocked off the top. What's happening, as I started kind of adding these cameras a little as I go, because we're also fixing up the rest of the house, all the puzzle pieces kind of start laying together, and then you can start to follow all these people as they show up at the bar and then leave 6, 7, 8 hours later, stumble to their vehicles, drop their keys in the parking lot, get in, and then just literally destroy your property on the way out with zero regard to, frankly, themselves or anyone else around them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director. Other questions from any of our board members? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, sir, for your testimony today. If there's anyone else present who wishes to testify the noted conditions have not been complied with, please come forward at this time and be sworn in. So I'm not seeing anybody in the chat. Oh, I see Alderman Narayan is on and he's raised his hand. STL TV, can you give Alderman Narayan rights to speak, please? Okay, Alderman Narayan, you're on. If you'd unmute yourself, you turn your camera on if you can do that.
All right. Do you guys have me?
Yeah, can we get you
Okay.
sworn in real quick, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give at this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Alderman.
Thank you, Director. I'll be honest. I hate that we're here right now. I feel like as an alderman, one of my roles is to promote business in the ward. But after calls from Mr. Backer and other neighbors about these repeated issues, I dove further into this situation and reviewing Mr. Backer's videos and the discussions that I've had with him and others. There are so many issues with this particular property right now. Serious over-serving of patrons, very intoxicated people, very loud people, people vomiting, people urinating, a lot of drinking and driving, a lot of property damage. There are dozens of bars in the fourth ward of the city here. I'm certainly not opposed to bars. This is the first time that I've ever, in 5 years, spoken out against any of the bars. And I think that everyone understands, even in the areas that are more residential, if any of these issues that we saw on the video today, if that was a rare occurrence, if that was something that just happened as a one-off, or even occasionally, I think a lot of people would be understanding and try and support the businesses near them. But this is over the top, and it's dangerous, and it's only a matter of time before somebody gets hurt. And with that, I'll yield to any questions that anyone may have of me.
Alderman, thank you for your time and your testimony. I know you're busy, so I'll open the floor up for questions from any of our board directors for Alderman Narayan. Okay, seeing no questions, thank you, Alderman, for your testimony.
Thank you.
At this time, if there's anyone else present who wishes to testify the noted conditions have not been complied with, please come forward and be sworn in.
I do believe my neighbor Kevin Harrington. I don't know if he's on right now. He's trying to raise his hand. I don't
I
know if
don't
he
see a
properly
hand
is joining the
raised. Oh, I
meeting or
do.
not.
Yes, I do. I see another hand raised, Kevin. STL TV, can you please give that gentleman rights to speak, please? Okay, sir, if you would unmute yourself and turn on your camera, if you can do that, we will swear you in. Okay, it looks like you don't have a camera. So can you raise your right hand, please, and indicate when you have it raised?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Secretary?
Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give at this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the board.
Kevin Harrington, 6016 Marmaduke, St. Louis, 63139. I would like, if you could swear my wife in as well,
Sure.
in here beside me.
Please indicate when she has her hand raised.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give at this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the board.
Tracy Harrington. I live at 6016 Marmaduke Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, 63139.
So let's do one at a time. So, Mister, will you please speak first? And then we'll take questions and then we will go to Mrs.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
I've lived here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name's Kevin Harrington. I've lived here for what, almost 4 years now. Okay, and we've had the bar behind us since we've gotten here, and all the videos and all the testimony that Luke has presented is it's just a tip of the to the to just what we go through every day. We've tried in every way, shape, and to work with Mr. Cook, work with the bar patrons, and it seems just to go in one ear and out the other. Steve has, right. He has said, call me anytime, day or night. I will get things resolved. My bartender, feel free to go in there and talk to my bar anytime. On the handful of times I've gone into the bar, I've gotten the serious, WTF look. What are you doing? Okay. Steve has never provided me his phone number, even though he said, "Oh, call me anytime." The one time I did go into and actually speak to the blonde bartender who claims that she never overserves people, and asked for his number. She didn't give it to me. She wouldn't give it to me. Then let's talk about the drunks back and always have a cocktail or beer in their hand. There's one gentleman just recently. He was so drunk he could hardly stand up. One of his friends was trying to get him to not drive, and he ended up engaging with me. Okay, asking me why I was ripping on him. I said, "Sir, you're way too drunk to drive. You don't need to be driving." Got in his car anyway and drove away. Another gentleman, older gentleman, who arrives at the bar anywhere between 7:30 and 9 o'clock during the week, stays until 11:30, is hammered every time he leaves. I met up with him one afternoon when I was leaving my house to go to. I asked him if he was going to drive with that beer, and he says, "What beer?" And I said, "The one you just walked out of the bar with." He said, "I didn't walk out of the bar with the beer." I said, "Yes, sir, you did, right? It's probably in your console." And he reached in his console, got it, threw it in the dumpster, and then he was getting in his car, and I said, "Drive drunk?" He says, "I'm not drunk." And I just shrugged him off, said, "Okay, if you say so." He got in his car and drove away. The trash, the debris that ends up in our yard. Luke is he's on the front line, and I'm right next door to him, so I don't get nearly as much as he does as far as physical damage and such. But being being 57 years old, being a recovering alcoholic myself, I've been clean and sober for 9 years. Um, if anybody can empathize these people, I can. Okay, I don't hate on them. I want the best for them. I would love to see this business flourish, but really, Steve Cook's idea of flourishing is screw the neighbors, screw the live around here. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and it's incredibly frustrating. I people pull out of those parking spots daily, and their front tires almost come into my yard. All right, now we have been to put some sort of barrier up because I would love to put a privacy fence up. And watching these people, if I had a privacy fence up there, it would be knocked down. And just like what Luke experiences, then people would be apologetic, but they surely wouldn't to fix it or to pay for it. But I'm just extremely frustrated, and I want I'll get some resolution to this. I want some peace in my backyard, and with that, I'm going to let my wife Tracy say something.
So let me stop you right there for just a minute. Thank you for your testimony. I'd like to open the floor up for questions for the gentleman from any of our board directors before we move on to the next testimony.
Yes, I'd like to. Can you hear me, Rich?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to, first of all, commend the I appreciate all the communication. I'd like to commend the gentleman that just spoke on his accomplishment in life. And that is terrific to hear. One follow-up question with the first individual, Luke, that spoke. Sir, about how long have you may have said in your testimony, and I know you said the bar has been there since you've been there on Marmaduke, about how many incidents do you think you've dealt with in, let's say, the last 3 years?
I'm just literally totally guessing, like 300, maybe more, maybe less. That's a total ballpark. I mean,
daily.
when I started looking over some of the clips that I was going to drop off to be put in the file, I had to buy a larger flash drive because these clips surpassed like 15 gig of clips, and they're all cut fairly short. It's not like they're not feature length clips here. So I mean, it's habitual, to say the least.
Thank you both.
Okay. Any other questions for the gentleman that just testified? I believe it's Mr. Harrington. Okay, seeing none, we will go to Mrs. Harrington, and please feel free to tell the board what you have on your mind.
Hi, yes, sir. I just wanted to add, just as another witness to several of the events that have happened, and especially the ones that I personally were involved in were, other than meetings and emails, and can confirm that we have been dealing for 3 years now, trying to get this handled through the different departments within the city. And Luke's videos have really been our proof of evidence. It's with video that is visual aid and sound. There's really no more doubt of he said, she said. I mean, the videos speak for themselves. It's like my husband said, we're not out to destroy anyone, but at the same time, if you're going to own an establishment such as this in a residential area, then you have to do a lot more monitoring of your patrons and the over-serving of your patrons, and be a little more responsible for their behavior when they leave your establishment and get in their cars and leave the parking lot. people are not just going in there and having a couple of drinks for social purposes after work and then going home. These are pretty much, let's party all day and not as long as we can and drive ourselves home drunk. And there have been several times that my husband has, said, hey, you really want to drive home, let somebody else drive you home, because I know all too well. And, they get really, of course, defensive. And, one even recently, I videoed it, did not upload the video. But he came to the edge of the yard wanting to confront and combat verbally over the issue when we were simply trying to keep him from making a really bad mistake. And walking out of the bar with drinks in their hands happens on a regular basis. It's a pretty much a thing. There is a lot of hollering, carrying on. The smell of marijuana is huge and repulsive. I cannot stand it. I understand that it is legal, but to walk in your backyard and say, oh, what a lovely smell this morning. No, it's not. It's a disgusting smell. So, I don't know what can be done with that, if any, if they're smoking. But, it's a residential area. It would be nice to just live in some peace, honestly. And that's really all I have to add.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. And at this time, I'll open the floor up for questions from any of our board directors or Ms. Harrington. Okay, seeing no questions, thank you both for your testimony. At this time, if there's anyone else who would like to testify that the conditions of the conditional use permit were not complied with, please come forward and be sworn in.
Is there any way that I could add something else?
Let me make sure there's nobody else here first testifying.
Yes, sir.
So I have no one in the chat. I have no one else on the screen. Go ahead, Luke, and give us a final comment, please.
So I, just kind of, I don't know if you guys have like kind of looked at like I believe one of you guys said last time that you might have looked at a Google Earth image or something along those lines of kind of the way we're situated over here. And I think the reason that this hasn't been more of an issue until maybe slightly more recently is just kind of our unique location. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So this is my house here, and this is Kevin, and then that's Adam's Smokehouse side of this building, and then that's the tavern side of this building. This is the 7-Eleven parking lot, which is not in any way connected to this alley. You can only walk through here. So I know that at least one or two of you had, raised suspicion last time that maybe, like these, I believe it was referred to as single serve containers or whatever, were coming from 7-Eleven, and some of it is. I'm not going to pretend like it's not, but a vast majority of like the traffic we've seen, we actually frequently see people leave 7-Eleven, buy shooters or single serve liquor or whatever at 7-Eleven and then walk back in. I mean, we've had numerous instances of, people show up with beverages and walk into this bar. But I'd also like to point out, this is 350 some odd feet from an elementary school. And I mean, I have pictures of right here at this corner of the tavern, right on Watson Road, a guy on a Sunday, afternoon, doing his business on the side of the building, urinating on the side of the building for where everyone can see. I mean, and that's 350 foot away from a school. That's within sight distance of a school. And, right now it's summer. A lot of the younger kids in the neighborhood, they're up later. I remember when I was, doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing, 11:30, midnight when I was younger. I mean, these kids walk up and down these alleys, and there's videos of people peeling out of this parking lot at a high rate of speed after being clearly overserved alcohol. And frankly, like, I'm glad, but I'm flabbergasted as how no one's been killed yet. And I think that maybe the reason there's not more complaints is because this apartment building right here, they only just became like they've been, since I moved in basically in 2021, they've been renovating, and they've only just very recently got tenants, and they're already starting to have issues. So I mean, you didn't have any complaints from there. You're, flanked by another commercial business here who does have issues with the patrons. Uh, but I guess they don't call. I don't know. But I mean, really, me and Kevin right here, we're bearing the brunt of this. So I mean, I think that's maybe the reason that nothing has happened with this sooner. But nonetheless, he's in a neighborhood. Whether we're the only people dealing with it or not, he needs to meet the terms of his conditional use permit, which, I mean, if this isn't a nuisance property, I literally have no idea what it is.
Okay, thank you for your follow-up testimony. If you would stop unsharing, please. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Backer from our board before we move on with the hearing? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. If you would please mute yourself, I would appreciate it. At this time, I'm going to ask the conditional use permit holder to come forward and be sworn in. I believe Mr. Cook is with us today. If you would unmute, please. Thank you. Will you raise your right hand and she will swear you in, sir?
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give at this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the board.
Do I start here or?
Please state your name and address for the
Oh,
board.
sorry, I didn't hear that. Stephen Cook. And what? The address? My personal or business address?
Your personal address.
1905 Lily Avenue, 63110.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cook. Please address the conditions in violation and the comments that you have previously heard.
Okay, so regarding the dumpster after the last meeting, I have made 3 phone calls to City Hall, 3 visits down to City Hall to inquire about the permit, what was required, if there were certain specs to be made. I've gotten hung up on twice, and I've only was able to talk to one person one time on a visit down to City Hall, saying that they were short-staffed or so on and so forth. I spoke with a gentleman. I did not get his name. He did drive by the tavern, and he passed on the name of Randy Ulrich, who I then contacted to inquire about what specs were made for the permit. Never heard back from him. I then reached out to a couple of contractors. One told me that if the enclosure was under 5 feet, I did not need a permit, but I don't know what they were looking for as far as the specs for the dumpster, if it had to be a certain height or nothing. I had no information on that at all. I went ahead and hired him and told him once I got the answer, I would reach out to him. He scheduled tentatively a date to do the enclosure in, let me see my notes here. It was either be late June or early July before he could start. When I did not hear from him the last week of June, I did reach out to him, and he said he was too busy and could not do the enclosure. I then reached out to a couple of other contractors, and they all said that there was no way it could be done until late July, early August at the earliest. At that point, I don't know what else I can do. I certainly am not handy where I can build an enclosure. And then within 2 weeks ago, then also I was informed that the shed on my property, which my dumpster backs up to, is going to be torn down. Originally, we were going to use the back wall of that dumpster as one of the walls for the enclosure. With that shed being torn down and an enclosure around the dumpster, it would be right smack dab in the middle of the parking lot. And in speaking with Mike, who owns Adams Smokehouse and uses the dumpster and pays for half of it next door, he agreed that it would be silly to have an enclosed dumpster sitting in the middle of the parking lot, not knowing what was going to happen with the shed, if it was going to be rebuilt, if, Mike wanted to expand the patio or use it, for his business, so on and so forth. So at this point, I'm kind of in a waiting game, and, I know it was mentioned I can get a waiver or, something like that. I've talked to a city inspector, I talked to my health inspector, and again, they're still both kind of confused why it has to be enclosed now when it hasn't been in 30 plus years. Whatever, it is, I made every attempt I could. I've hired someone, And then they backed out on me saying they were too busy. I've reached out to other contractors and they said they would not have time to have it done by today's date on the dumpster.
Okay, so that's condition number 1. Can you address condition number 8, the nuisance property?
Yeah, after our meeting, one of my local patrons happens to be retired police colonel Larry O'Toole. And I sat him down and we kind of talked about some of the issues that were going on. And he came up with some recommendations. He said, change the hours of my patio, because it used to be open to close, which I now make my patio open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. during the summer. Once summer ends, I will probably make that back down to 9 p.m. I close the back door at 10 o'clock at night. That way people must come and go from my front 2 doors. And also I did move the smoking section up front as well. That way it does keep people from congregating in the back walkway and hoping to alleviate the noise issue. We did discuss hiring a security firm, and Larry's recommendation, and again, I'm basing his recommendation based on his, probably 30 years of police work, retiring as a colonel. He suggested I hold off on, hiring security to see if these recommendations that we discussed were put in place and seeing how it works, if we evaluate them or not. So that's on that one. Also, since then, I have made all of my bartenders update their tips certification. I do have barbacks Thursday through Saturday that do regularly patrol the parking lot, to make sure no one is lingering there after 10 p.m. and to pick up any trash. And then I have banned entire groups of people. Some of these people spend a lot of money and tip very well, but I have banned them from my establishment due to the fact that they were being unruly and showing zero respect for my business, Mike's business, and the neighbors behind me. And then, regarding the videos that Luke showed, I am actually flabbergasted and totally shocked by that. I wish Luke would have come to me with those videos. I would have either identified the people right away for him. I was kind of on my screen, I couldn't really make out the people too well, but I don't think I recognized them. I don't think I have one of my bartenders here now, Lavon. I don't think she recognized anyone, at least from the cars they drove. So I'm actually shocked by that. I am surprised by that. That did kind of blow me away. Definitely don't condone that. As far as the comments that were made. I'm going through my notes, bear with me here.
You're right, go ahead.
Yeah, I know, I'm just kind of scanning. The one video with a couple that looked like they're having a domestic disturbance, if you will, that had absolutely nothing to do with the bar. Apparently they were having a domestic disturbance prior. They lived together. I don't think you can fault the bar one bit that she pulled up and they started arguing. That has absolutely nothing to do with me. That could have happened in the parking lot of Petco or Macy's or anywhere else. Let's see. I do think that, while again, I do agree there probably are some issues. The way that they're saying that every single person was overserved, stumbling out, that is a false narrative. I know the video looks damning, but that is certainly a very, very small percentage of my patrons. My average tab is $9.55. I can prove that through my POS. That's the average tab of what people spend in there. That is 2 drinks. We've had instances of people coming in where we refuse to serve them because we could tell they were obviously intoxicating and coming from another local bar. I think someone mentioned that there are a lot of local bars in the area, and that is very true. But again, especially with taking the tips class, the bartenders are more cognizant than ever now. And some of those videos were taken before 4/16 with our last hearing as well. So please keep that in mind. The bar itself, since the last meeting, my sales are down 13%. I think that's a direct reflection on some of the changes I made. And probably, people talking, they visit other bars now, whatever. Because I know Luke has, like you said, 7 cameras. He's filming every single person, everybody that comes into my bar. taking pictures of license plates, so on and so forth. Again, with his car being sideswiped a couple times, I understand why he's doing it. But again, I don't condone it. But I don't recognize anyone in that video. And I probably have, what would you say, probably 90% of the people there are just regulars. Yeah, probably 90% of the people that come there are the regulars. It's 10% that we have no, I don't know who they are. But we have had several, what I would determine, false allegations or false complaints from the neighbors behind me. One night I had the police walk into the bar around 9 p.m. saying there was a loud complaint of music or noise. No music was on outside. The bar was slow itself with maybe 3 patrons inside, and the music on the inside was barely audible with my back door shut. Even the police rolled their eyes and said, we just have to show up because they got a call. Regarding, on June 27th, people were cutting holes in my fence. So EMS teams were able to see to the patio. That's an excise commission requirement. It was 9:45, I believe, at night when Luke, or 9:30, when Luke, his girlfriend, and Kevin walked over, videoing the whole thing and confronted the people that I hired to do the work. They said they had to stop because it was past 7 p.m. in violation of the noise ordinance. I looked up the noise ordinance, and in the city of St. Louis, it's at 10 o'clock at night. The very next night, Luke is outside at 10:24 p.m. with power tools, drilling and working on things in his backyard. I mean, a little bit hypocritical in that respect. Personally, it does not bother me that he was outside working on it, but he can't complain about something that's going on if he's going to turn around and do the same thing the very next night. And then I have had several patrons. Again, this is going to be he said, she said, I know, regarding Kevin, that he is the one that unprovoked starts yelling at my patrons, saying he's tired of everyone getting drunk and stumbling, which is not the case. And he's tired of cars coming and going all day and night. It's a business. There's a business next door. At some point, you have to realize where you move to with businesses behind you, whether it's a chemical plant, McDonald's, any other business, there's going to be traffic back there. That's just, plain and simple. Also, again, Luke apparently has, nothing better to do than look at his cameras all day long and all night long. But he says he goes to bed at 9:30 at night. Yet I have video and snapshots of him sitting outside at night, 10:30, 11, 12:30 at night, sitting in his backyard with lights on in his house. So for him to say that the noise or that, we keep him up, I totally 100% disagree with that. Again, there's been several nights I don't believe it's pure coincidence until my bartender pulls away, then the lights shut off at his house. That's happened several times. Let's see. I've had a complaint where you said someone called, said that they were going to be driving drunk. In that instance, we refused to serve the lady because she was visibly intoxicated and came from the bar down the street. And one of our off-duty bartenders was yelling at her to get into her car so she could drive her home, which did happen. The patron never did drive.
The police showed up.
Yeah, the police did show up for that. Again, was that 2 hours later? 2 hours later. I'm not saying my bar's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There are issues. Again, I've taken steps, especially by, again, I'm going to bring up his name again, Larry O'Toole, retired police colonel. We sat down for about an hour and we listed a whole bunch of things that we have implemented. I just kind of feel like the neighbors behind me are kind of conspiring against me, again, with, some of their embellishments and making up things. I know the video doesn't lie, but I believe a lot of the instances that they're talking about, aren't necessarily happening. Who's to say that they can tell by someone who's overserved? And just because Kevin is a recovering alcoholic doesn't give him the right or the expertise to determine if someone's been overserved or is drunk. Totally disagree with that. Everyone that comes out of the bar, according to him, is drunk and stumbling. That has been made aware several times by other patrons who he has confronted. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm working on issues. I am shocked at some of the videos of Luke's car being sideswiped. I had no idea that was going on. And Kevin, you do have my number, you do have my email from the meeting we had 3 years ago. So don't say you don't have it. You do have it. Luke should have it also. Not once in 3 years have you personally reached out to me about any of these issues. I am more than willing to work with you. I am more than willing to help you if someone damages your property to find out who it is. I have offered to build a privacy fence at my cost for you. Let's see. I feel like no matter what steps I take, Luke and Kevin will just not stop. They will just not stop and will continue to file, false allegations against me. You can't take everything what they say at their word because there are embellishments in there. I have over 200 grand of my own money invested in this business. It is a part of my livelihood. But again, more importantly, I have employees who rely solely on this income for their living. Without that, you're talking about losing their homes, losing their apartments, possibly losing their cars. It's not like they can just walk in and find a job anywhere else. I know people say people are hiring everywhere. It's still not that easy. Again, Kevin, you say you're an expert in DUI. I guess you would know with your past criminal record. I feel like you have a vendetta against people who drink and visit bars because of your previous history. My bar is a good bar. We host events for fundraisers, charities. I do have a mix of clientele that range from blue collar. I have EMS firefighters, attorneys, doctors, and even police that do visit there. There are no fights. There are no violence, no gunshots, no stabbings. You hear about the old bar, rain, bombers. We have none of that. It's a chill place where people come, they play pool darts, relax. Again, I told you my average ticket was $9.55. I would actually invite everyone on the Zoom call to actually come in and check out the bar. You will see what's going on. I've been made aware there are certain groups or people that do cause issues. I do ban them. They are not allowed back. And that's kind of what I allude to, Luke, again, with people hitting your car. If I know who they are, I would definitely prevent them from coming back in because I do not condone one bit what they've done by any stretch of the imagination. What, Luke? Or LeBron, sorry.
Well, Mr. Cook, I'm
I
gonna
don't.
ask you to kind of wrap it up, give you a couple minutes to wrap it up here. And the other gentlemen who have their hands up, that's not the way hearings work. You do not get an opportunity to come back and ask questions of anyone. That is up to the board to do. So you can put your hand down because we will not call on you. So Mr. Cook, go ahead and wrap up your testimony, please.
Okay. I don't have much more to say. I just want to say again, some of the problems that are at my bar are not even people that make it inside my bar. I know we've had, there's several vagrants that cause problems. A lot of times up front where, there are, Luke doesn't have his cameras. Again, I'm trying to do the right thing. I've done everything that, I was counseled on. Again, if it comes to the point of needing security, I have no problem going that route. Again, I took a professional, a former police officer. I took his expertise and, kind of went with his recommendation. I'm definitely willing to go a step further. You have anything, LeBron?
I think you covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, like LeVon said, she's been a bartender there for 35 years. And the level of complaints, my bar's been there for even longer than she has. The level of complaints were never to this level until Kevin and Luke moved in back. To me, it appears they just have a vendetta. I understand with damage to the property, it does make you a little PO'd. I'm not going to lie about that. But prior to damage, it just seems like they're out for me. And, no matter what I do, I don't know how I can appease them. Like I said, security, if it's needed, I can definitely do that. I look at my cameras every night and during the day. Sometimes there's 3 cars in the parking lot most nights. Fridays, Saturdays tend to be a little busier. does that really require security every night? I don't believe so. Probably Friday and Saturday night for sure. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I mean, some of these things that they're showing are during the day, so I don't.
Well, again, during the day.
I know, but during, 24/7.
Yeah, again, if there's issues, why don't you call me and talk to me about it, Luke and Kevin? You say you don't have my number. You had my number and email at one point. That's kind of what I guess kind of gets me, is the fact that you never personally reached out to me to discuss or to even, describe who's causing the problem, so on and so forth. If I know about it, I can definitely take care of issues. I've been a lot more proactive about it as far as that goes. So other than that, I don't think I have anything else right now.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up your testimony, Mr. Cook. So at this time, thank you for your testimony. I will open the floor up for questions or comments from any of our board directors for our conditional use permit holder.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can you give the address again of this location?
yes, I can. The address is 2817 Watson Road.
Thank you.
Okay. Director Williams, do you have a question? You have your hand up.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for recognizing me. Thank you everyone for your testimony here today. I do have a couple questions for the owner of the establishment. You said you met with the retired or current or whoever police officer that gave you some recommendations on what to do. How long ago was that meeting? And what changes have you made based off of his recommendations? And what have you seen to change to better the community in which you are a part of?
So I met with him. It probably wasn't until what's today? The 16th. Probably early June when he came to the bar for the last hearing. Probably Levon. Maybe a little bit later, earlier.
No, probably early June.
Early June. So it was probably early June. I don't have the exact date. And that's when I implemented the changes as far as, closing the back door at 10 o'clock, requiring patrons to come in the front door after 10 o'clock, moving the smoking section up front to the front. And then I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Being that you're in your bar is in a community, so
Right.
you are a visitor to their area as a community of residents. What are the impacts? Have you had any positive feedback from the changes that you've made since closing the back deck and all of these things? Or are you just saying it's just the same two residents that have come to testify before us today?
I feel like it's reduced a lot of the traffic and congregating back in the parking lot.
It's just the same two residents.
And it's the same two residents that are doing the complaining mainly. I do get compliments from Chris's Pancake House, Chris Saraceno, the owner across the street, on how my business seems to be doing very well. I do donate to the 2nd District Police Fund. I don't know the official name. I was a member of the Chamber.
No, I just want just the community. I think we believe and we hear what you're a part of and what you contribute to outside of, or to the police officers or whoever, but to the residents of that community, what has the impact of your changes been? That's all I wanted. And then
Okay.
you tell me, when was your last hearing in 30 days?
Oh, it was 90 days ago. My last hearing, it was April 16th.
So your last hearing was April 16th and you didn't have a police officer there or have the conversation with the police officer into June?
Probably when he came to the bar, could have been late
No,
May.
it was 'cause
Oh, hold
I
on.
reached
Hang on real
out
quick,
to
man.
him. I reached out to him.
Every day goes by.
I
I
reached
lose
out
track of
to
time.
him
Okay, thank you so much. I'm
Hold
done.
on. She's got
Mr. Chair.
May 22nd.
May 22nd.
I reached out to him.
Okay, thank you, Director, for your questions. Any other questions from any of our board directors?
Yes, I have one, Chairman.
Go ahead, Director Coyle.
Mr. Cook, have you had a conversation with your alderman in the area?
I have not. It's been 3 years ago, I believe, since we last talked when I had a meeting. I have not reached out to him. He has not reached out to me about any problems, which if I, I would have thought that if it was that bad, he would have reached out to me to discuss changes or what's going on. I have not heard a single word. To be quite honest, my hearing 3 months ago kind of came out of left field. I was completely shocked by that, since I have not had anyone, when I say anyone, meaning the two neighbors behind me, reach out to me about any issues at all. I have not had any communication with the neighbors if there's any problems or issues. So with that being said, how can I correct a problem if I'm not aware of it in the first place?
Mr. Cook, has the building division or problem properties area have spoken with you about your business and causing a problem in the community?
What was that last part? I couldn't hear the last
Has the
part.
building division or someone from our problems property committee team spoken with you about your business causing a problem in the community?
The last time your department reached out to me was 3 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from any of our board directors? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your testimony, Mr. Cook. You would please mute yourself. At this time, if there's anyone present opposing this revocation that wishes to testify, please come forward and be sworn in. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anybody. I'm looking on screen. I don't see any hands up or other faces. So going once, opposition to the revocation. Going twice. 3 times, we are closed on the testifying for the revocation. So the matter concerning hearing number 126107-RH is now closed and submitted. The board will deliberate the matter following the remaining agenda items. At this time, I'll ask Secretary to please call the roll.
Director Coyle,
Present.
Director Davis, Director Hayes,
Aye.
Director Pearson,
Present.
Director Scobie is excused, Director Williams,
Present.
President Bradley.
Present, we have a quorum. I'll call this meeting in order.
Regular business from the president. Recommendation that approval be given as follows. Amendment number 1 to contract number 75151. Diagnostic, repair, replacement, service and troubleshooting, various heavy and small duty equipment, air compressor service contract with Bi-State Compressors, Inc. This first amendment extends the contract termination date to December 21st, 2026. The new contract maximum not to exceed amount is $46,000. Amendment number 2 to contract number 78083, Fleet Vehicle and Integrated Parts Management and Supply Service contract with Integrated Business Solution Division of NAPA. This second amendment extends the contract termination date to July 31st, 2027. The contract maximum not to exceed amount is $26 million. Supplemental agreement number 8 to PSA number 1252, testing and inspection of materials for various landslide construction projects at St. Louis Lambert International Airport with Geotechnology LLC in the amount of $2,000. This supplemental agreement is amended to modify the scope of work and is authorized by ordinance 71005. From the Office of Special Events, request the following to be approved, subject to certain conditions. There are 4 special events to be declared as festival zones. Number 1, ICU, a community health affair, will take place on Enright Avenue between Belt and Clara on July 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Setup and teardown will start at 7:30 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. Number 2, the Luminary Arts will take place on Ohio Avenue between Cherokee Street and South Alley on August 10th from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Setup and teardown will start on August 9th at 9 a.m. and end on August 11th at 5 p.m. Number 3, Temple Church of Christ will take place on Dayton Street from Elliott to Leffingwell on August 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Setup and teardown will start at 8 a.m. and end at 4 p.m. Number 4, Urban Eats Food Day will take place on Virginia Avenue between Merrimack and North Alley on September 14th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Setup and tear down will start at 8 a.m. and end at 8 p.m. From the Director of Public Utilities, recommendation that the board declares as emergency action the following. Field inspection services to identify and inventory water service line material and provide customer outreach. This work is needed to comply with the National Primary Drinking Water Regulations as part of the lead and copper rule revision and improvements. This work is time critical and is fully eligible for grant reimbursement due to the city being classified as disadvantaged by the state of Missouri for lead, making this the most efficient use of city resources to address the condition. The estimated cost of this work is $400,000. From the Directors of Public Safety and Utilities, joint recommendation that the following be approved, subject to certain conditions. Request by JLN Soulard Properties LLC and Jolin Investments LLC to consolidate 713 and 715 Shenandoah and 2221 South 7th Street into one lot in City Block 838. Request by Seed St. Louis, Inc. and Stock Associates Consulting Engineers, Inc. to consolidate lots 1, 2, and part of 4 of Clemens Place at 5575 Enright Avenue in City Block 4550. From the Directors of Public Utilities and Streets, joint recommendation that the following be approved, subject to certain conditions. Request by Grimes Consulting for public improvement at 4300 Natural Bridge Avenue to vacate the alley and construction of an apartment and commercial building with surrounding parking. Request by Byrne and Jones Construction for public improvements at 3398 Laysale Street to do directional boring under Laysale Street to transfer utilities from St. Louis University maintenance and restroom buildings to St. Louis University fields at 3300 Shoto Avenue. Request by MSD for public improvement at 4915 Lissette Avenue to remove and replace approximately 44 linear feet of combined 10-inch sewer pipes. Request by MSD for public improvement at 4257 Cleveland Avenue to replace approximately 72 linear feet of combined 18-inch sewer pipes. Joint recommendation that 2 applications from AT&T be approved, subject to certain conditions. Application number 53 for 1525 South Broadway. Application number 60 for 601 Edwin Street. Joint recommendation that 1 application from Bluebird be approved, subject to certain conditions. Application number 13 for 3841 Lindell Boulevard. Joint recommendation that 3 applications from Charter be approved, subject to certain conditions. Application number 57 for 3701 Shoto Avenue. Application number 61 for 300 East Nagle Avenue. Application number 68 for 3813 Pope Brilliant Avenue. We have 5 conditional use permits from the Director of Public Safety.
Afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Sandra Long, zoning specialist, zoning plan examiner for the city, and I'll be representing the building commissioner at today's meeting. For board order number 766 transmitted herewith are recommendations for the following conditional use agenda applications. Approval with conditions is recommended for 4 applications: 5100 Thekla Avenue, 3428 Merrimack Street, 6411 Hampton Avenue, 5241 Southwest Avenue, Unit 1F. Denial is recommended for one application, 2901 Union Boulevard. I request that these recommendations be approved as submitted.
Thank you, Sandra. Are there any questions or comments on today's conditional uses?
Hayes, I make a motion to accept the conditional uses as submitted.
Second,
Thank
Williams.
you, Directors. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Coyle?
Aye.
Director Davis?
Aye.
Director Hayes?
Aye.
Director Pearson?
Aye.
Director Williams?
Aye.
President Bradley?
Aye, today's conditional uses are approved. Hearing number 126-107 RH, The Tavern at Clifton Heights, 2817 Watson Road. We heard from 2 different property owners, actually 3 different property owners. who live behind the tavern are in opposition to the conditional use. We also heard from Alderman Brett Narayan, who is also in opposition to the tavern conditional use permit. We heard from Mr. Cook, who is the conditional use permit holder, and there was no one who was supporting not revoking the conditional use permit. So with that summary, I will open the floor up for comments from our board directors. So if there are no comments, is there a motion?
So I guess my question is this, I want to put no business out of, to revoke a permit, but at the same time, residents should not have to deal with the list of concerns over the period of time that was showed to us here today. We've given them an extension of 90 days. If once again, someone can explain the process, if we were to revoke their permit, if you could walk us through that permit for them to get their permit reinstated, or what would that process be when they can further work to clean up some of these actions? I think he had some things, and he's no longer on the call, but he had some ideas in mind, but it was everyone but the owner's fault in taking care of some of those things. And so I guess if I could just understand that process.
Right, so that's a great point. So let me start off with a couple things that I probably should have explained to begin with, which that is one of them. So thank you for that question. That's a great one. So first of all, if we were to revoke his permit today, he always has the right to go to the Board of Adjustment and appeal that. So we are not the end all, say all, do all. We are a step in the process. And then I believe if the Board of Adjustment revokes his permit, and Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy Walsh, he could appeal that to the courts, correct?
That is correct.
Correct. So there are a couple of appeals that would follow us should we decide to revoke the permit. Now, a couple clarifications I think are important for everybody to understand. We gave them 90 days to, 90 days to resolve some of these issues. And so I think what's really important here is we have two things that we are looking at today, two conditions. Number one, did he enclose his dumpster? Which the answer is unequivocally no, he did not. He had a number of reasons why he did not do it, but he had 90 days to do that, and he has not done that. And number two is not become a nuisance property. And so I think it's very important you understand what a nuisance property is. So here, City Code 15.42.010 provided from the City Councilor's office, and I quote, "A nuisance is a continuing act or physical condition which is made, permitted, allowed, or continued by any person or legal entity, their agents or servants, or any person or legal entity who aids therein, which is detrimental to the safety, welfare, or convenience of the inhabitants of the city, or a part thereof, or any act or condition so designated by statute or ordinance." And so, your point, Director Williams, that they're a conditional use permit holder, and we grant them that conditional use permit to operate their business in an area that is not zoned for them. It is zoned for residential. It's incumbent on them to make, follow the conditions that we give them, all right? Not the property owners. That's handled under a whole different process under Director Coyle's billing division. And to the best of my knowledge, we don't have any complaints from the billing division on any of the individuals that have testified against us today. And so the other thing that I would bring to your attention is that there's something very interesting you should note is that, again, they had 90 days to comply with the conditions, but there was one condition in there that was very simple to comply with, and that was place a trash can outside the business so that refuse is not, just trash is not distributed around the premise. That had not been complied with until the most recent site inspection, when Sandy and Dre went out there, and they basically told the business owner, bartender, they didn't have it. And so in the pictures of the inspection, you would notice that there is a behind the bar trash can that had been pushed out there. So even something as simple as placing a trash can outside the business was not complied with until push came to shove. And, you know, again, without going too far into this, I just feel like I agree with Director Williams that nothing seems to be the conditional use permit holder's fault. It's everybody else's fault. And to me, as the conditional use permit holder, you need to be the one to initiate all this, not everybody else keep coming and telling you you need to do it. All right.
I have a question.
Open the floor.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you for that explanation. A question about the condition number 2, the owner cannot let the property become a nuisance property. Is that term nuisance property like a legal definition? Like, would he have to be deemed, like officially deemed a nuisance property by, I don't know, would this be the city attorney's office or public safety division or something like that? And I guess that feeds into the other question. If that is a threshold and he hasn't met the threshold, could we still vote to revoke his conditional use permit, even if that threshold is not met?
So Nancy, I'm gonna turn to you on that, but my understanding has always been that the definition of nuisance property from the city code is our interpretation of how and what they have done that applies with that definition that I just put out. But Nancy, you want to opine on that?
So you had read the definition of a nuisance, and this board can make a finding that that standard is satisfied or not satisfied. So it is important. There's also the dumpster condition, but if you're revoking the condition, if you decide to revoke the permit based on condition 8 relating to nuisance property, then you should do so only if you think the evidence meets that definition.
Okay, thank you, Director. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Any commentary from the board?
My only comment is that it's clear that things have worsened since the last meeting where we gave sufficient time for things to be resolved. I think there were very simple requests that were made. And I just wanted to say on record how disheartening it was to watch video proof of things that for any of us would be devastating, and that it should not be incumbent on residents to have to do that level of reporting, self-advocacy, etc. I do want to bring to mind that one of the things we thought about in painfully, like in a lot of detail, was the impact this would have on the folks that work at the bar and their livelihood. But I would say that again, 90 days was given for all parties to think about that, to reasonably try to make efforts. I think this board has in the past taken even minimal efforts to resolve things before we had to consider a revocation. So for me, those are the things that I'm taking into consideration when we move forward with the decision.
And I would also just add that, you know, keep in mind that Alderman Narayan testified today. So to me, if the alderman came to the hearing and testified and he had mentioned that he had heard from multiple people in the neighborhood, or however he exactly, I don't want to paraphrase him, but his commentary about hearing from other people in the neighborhood. So he brings to me a neighborhood perspective above and beyond the residents that are just simply located behind there. And quite frankly, in the history of this board, 90 days is an extremely long extension. Generally, we've seen 30, 45, or sometimes 60, but 90 days is an extremely long extension to, in my mind, to not even get a dumpster enclosed. All right, any other commentary? All right, at this point, is there a motion?
Motion to revoke.
Second.
I have a motion to revoke conditional use permit in a second. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Coyle?
Anything?
Coyle?
Okay, hold on. It says,
Can you come back to me?
Yes,
I
yes,
will.
go ahead.
Not you. Go ahead.
Oh. 2817.
Director Davis?
Aye.
Director Hayes?
Aye.
Director Pearson?
Aye.
Director Williams?
Aye.
President Bradley?
Aye.
Director Coyle?
Aye.
Okay, the permit's revoked. And if they want to appeal it, they can go to the Board of Adjustment. Thank you. I'd like to turn your attention to our meeting minutes from July 9th,
You
2000.
can call me back.
Are there any questions or comments?
Oh, hold
the
on, I
meeting
have it right
minutes?
here.
Hold on.
Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Coyle?
Aye.
Director Davis?
Aye.
Director Hayes?
Abstain.
So noted. Director Pearson?
Aye.
Director Williams?
Aye.
President Bradley?
Aye, the meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. Today's agenda, are there any questions or comments on today's BPS meeting agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve.
Williams, second Williams.
Thank you. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Coyle?
Aye.
Director Davis?
Aye.
Director Hayes?
Aye.
Director Pearson?
Aye.
Director Williams?
Aye.
President Bradley?
Aye, today's agenda is approved. Before we adjourn, I'll ask for any questions. I just want to say thank you for all your time and attention today in a very important matter. I will open the floor up for any other comments. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second Williams.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Meeting adjourned. Have a great day, all. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.